Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
I'm Bruce.
And this is episode 321. His name's Nolan.
No, it's not.
It is. You're still on the Batman.
Identity theft is not a joke.
You can't just be Bruce.
It is
today.
a joke, and that's who I am. I literally am.
Literally not. Konami announced that
Okay.
they will be releasing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection this year. It is going to consist of 13 previously released TMNT titles from a variety of consoles, including arcade, NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis. They are including games like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, which I absolutely loved, Turtles in Time, from multiple consoles, arcade and home console. Also, the Manhattan Project. We played that, I believe, on the show as well. And plenty of other games. And it is going to be released on PS4 and PS5.
Kenny, you look interested.
Oh, I was so excited until it's on the console I don't own. That's
as well
depressing.
as Xbox, Switch, and Steam.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
You finally got around to my PC.
That's pretty
I'm
huge. That's like
hyped.
all the games.
Well, do you want to get a little bit more hype because they are actually updating it with a few quality of life improvements like save anytime, button mapping, and for select titles, online co-op capabilities.
Dude.
No.
That's all we want from our retro games.
You know that more companies should start doing this because we have the Sega collection that has online multiplayer. So like I hope we see even more retro collections coming to like PC with like multiplayer. That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
And helpful to us.
The long distance couch co-op thing is so good. That's what people want in a retro game.
really is.
Konami is killing it on this choice.
They would make
Dang.
so much money if they did this with other titles because you can't. The only way people are playing these games today, for the most part, are through emulation. So you're making nothing. But if you were to repackage it, re-release it with a few quality of life updates, and make it where friends that used to play on the couch together can now play on the couch together, even though they're grown men with a jobs, and it's 8 o'clock p.m. when they're recording a podcast, and they've got an opening or a launch of a product tonight at 10:45, but they can still play. That's just a random example, but they can still be able to play games in their adult age with other people from across the world.
Yes. And they make money, so it's win-win. Like you're right, emulation makes them no money. So do that other companies like, you know, the ones out there that we want.
Capcom, let me tell you the price and you tell me if too much, too little, or okay.
This is an interesting game.
I've seen a little bit of complaints on this. Gut reaction.
There's no way it's expensive.
13 titles.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, some of them are the same title, different consoles. So I think there was slight tweaks, but $40.
Kenny.
It's a little higher than it should be.
I expected
Kenny's
you to
thinking
say
30.
I expected you to say 60 because
Oh.
people were upset. I would be upset about 60 probably, but 40 is reasonable for that amount of content and the cross-play or the multiplayer capability. Yeah, 40 is fair. I think
most people that would have bought it lower will still buy it at 40.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's probably a good price point for them. It does seem steep for what you're getting. I think 20 to maybe 30 feels a little more in the pocket
but
for
like,
me.
come on,
but
it's 10
I'm
bucks,
also
like,
real cheap.
Just buy it. 40
Yeah,
is fine.
no, it's not like out of the question. It's not like they charged $60 for it or something.
I think we're all in agreement here. I think 40 is okay. They probably got together and said this is probably about $30 worth, but
Let's
they're going
add
to pay
10.
40 if they're going to. Yeah, they're going to pay 40 if they're going to pay 30.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what good
And it's
businessmen
not
do.
a game that's for it's not like, okay, when you come out with Elden Scrolls or something new, like that is kind of like everybody buy this. But when you're repackaging something, it's like if you like this already, then this is for you.
Elden
you know,
Scrolls?
Dang it. Well, hey,
It's
Let
similar.
it stand. It's perfect.
it's honestly,
Yeah.
you know, a half of dozen, one dime, another of a noggin.
Agreed.
Well, I think this is fun. I don't know, who knows if we'll end up getting it, but this is something that I could totally see the three of us playing some of these games together, because Nolan and I got to play Manhattan Project physically
So fun.
together.
Yes, so fun.
I don't know if I've played Ninja Turtles with you, Kenny. Have I?
The
Wait,
I
arcade.
don't think so.
wait. Did Nolan
Maybe
and I play
arcade.
Manhattan because of you? Was that when
Yeah.
you
Kenny, take
over.
selected that? Nice.
It was my game for you. It was my gift.
So this might be something that we end up playing in the future. If you don't like it or you think that it's too pricey, then eat my shorts. Like in our retro game of the week, The Simpsons, hit ampersands run.
Overview.
The Simpsons Hit and Run is a 2003 action adventure game where Dustin apologizes for using the word ampersands. And it's published by Vivendi Universal Games, developed by Radical Entertainment. If you can't tell from the title, this is a game based on The Simpsons, the very well-known and generally beloved cartoon series. It's not the first Simpsons game out there.
Not even close.
In fact, there are as many Simpsons games before this one in existence as there are pilots.
Mm,
In the world, pilots in the world.
It's a bad joke. This is the 22nd Simpsons title. And
21. It's a band. 21 pilots. It is really bad. Don't let me.
Yeah, it's a
have
bad
to
joke.
for that.
It's a
Oh.
bad joke.
Yeah.
And also, there are
Everyone else,
21 games.
Explain it. Let it rest and let people appreciate it if they choose to.
Yes.
Ooh,
This
that's
game-
rough.
In a nutshell, is Grand Theft Auto Light
Mm.
in a Simpsons skin.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
not a lot.
And if you
Sums it up
didn't,
really well.
if you did, don't say that about yourself and what you said. Is giving yourself a pat on the back. I don't like calling this a Grand Theft Auto clone or anything like that. Because I
Okay.
feel like even if this is a good game, that's a disservice to a franchise that is incredible and does so many
No.
other things than just drives around.
No, it is a compliment, if
Oh,
anything,
come on.
because GTA set such a standard that there are copycats, and it works because that format's great.
We'll talk about it in gameplay, but I would love to know the things outside of driving that is similar to Grand Theft Auto here.
The evolution here though is car driving based anyways. Like the game before this
Yes.
is The Simpsons Road Rage. So like
Which
It's
was
its
Crazy
own
Taxi ripoff.
game, it's just clearly influenced by what was popular at the time. I don't think it's a stretch to say that.
I don't either.
So, an interesting fact, Nolan just brought up the Crazy Taxi clone that was the previous game, or Kenny did. One of you did. But the thing that was interesting here is that they started to build this game as a sequel to that game, but they had lawsuits come against
Yeah.
them from the Crazy Taxi
They got
developers.
sued.
And so they had to say, okay, we can't keep you in the car. We got to get you out of the car. And this didn't start off trying to be a Grand Theft Auto clone, but halfway through they were like, guys, doesn't this kind of feel like Grand Theft Auto? And then they realized what they were creating along
And then
the
Grand
way.
Theft Auto didn't sue them for copying because they had enough lawsuits on their hands from their own games.
Already, which
Yeah.
the game references as part of its
Yes.
sort of tongue-in-cheek meta humor. You find yourself playing really well-known characters from The Simpsons. You start off as Homer. You're going to end up playing a series of characters throughout the whole family, as well as Apu throughout this game.
What's his last name?
And I can't pronounce it. And you're going to be solving the
Kumpo.
mystery. Some kind of shenanigans going on throughout Springfield. You've got weird cameras flying around and mysterious black vans, and the family, through a series of car-based misadventures. And by car-based, I mean You're running over things with your car, you're racing things with your car, you're time trialing things with your car. It's basically the car heavy portions of a GTA game. Um, and through those actions and a series of events, you're going to unlock the mystery of what's going on, and in the meantime run over a lot of civilians, cause a lot of general ruckus like you would expect with this type of game and in a Simpsons themed universe.
Childhood favorite. Like, speaking of couch co-op before, this was one that I played with my friend Greg at his house all the time. We would just like take turns playing, because it's not exactly like a multiplayer kind of game that you would play. We would just play campaign and pass the controller. Also, are you guys Simpsons guys? I don't think Dustin is.
I think we kind of hinted at it at the end of the last episode, and
Yeah.
it seemed like neither Kenny nor I were big Simpsons fans.
Yeah.
I'm not a mega fan.
I'm not a
I
mega fan
completely
either.
respect the show. You know, it has its place. There's a reason it's popular, but I'm not like a big Simpsons guy.
I wasn't like exactly allowed to watch it when I was like a kid, but I still did. And then later loved Futurama in like high school, college, which was the same creators as The Simpsons. So I love the show, and so it just kind of worked for me back then.
And just to clarify my stance, I just have never really watched it. I respect it for what it is. I understand that it is a great... Yeah, by the way, do you understand that this show is still running
Yep.
today? It's the longest running animated show. It's the longest running sitcom. It's the longest running.
Yep.
It's got so many of the longest things. Now, I know fans of the series, hardcore fans, longtime fans, are somewhat no longer, because it is
Yeah.
a very different show
I think-
than it used to be.
I think like golden era, those fans would say like seasons like 4 to 7 or something like that, or maybe
Yeah,
even longer.
something.
I don't know. But like, yeah, it started to get, I don't know if it like fell off in terms of like relevancy or jokes or whatever, but it's probably still a quality show overall. I don't currently watch it, but it's impressive that it's still being made.
Everyone knows it. Huge cultural impact. You could quote certain characters and everyone would know what you're talking about for the most part. You know, internet memes about it. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
So this game is nothing like Grand Theft Auto. We'll get that off the... Oh, come on,
False.
we never agree on
No,
anything
see,
nowadays.
you need to explain yourself, because I'm pretty sure
Okay,
Kenny
I
and
would
I
love
and all
to.
our listeners are like, what?
I would love to.
Okay. Let's hear it.
I feel so defeated from time to time, because I've got the right takes on most everything.
That is the
I'll tell
quote
you
of an
what.
insane man.
Kenny has probably the least amount of Grand Theft Auto experience out of the three of us. Nolan has probably the
Probably.
second most, and I probably have the most, maybe.
I don't know about that.
I know maybe you do, but I don't know. However, I've got a lot of Grand Theft Auto experience, and
Okay.
I think all three of us can respect Grand Theft Auto. It might not be like our specific taste, maybe, I don't know, but because it's an adult game, but it is they're masterpieces. I mean, Grand Theft Auto is still making
They're
Buku's
extremely
game.
iconic, yes.
they're good though. They're
Yes.
quality. There's a rich story on a lot of them, at least 3 onwards, and
As opposed to this title, which sold 3 million copies, won Players'
Oh.
Choice Awards, won. You want me to go through the list of things that made
Dang,
it so
Kenny.
popular in its day?
yeah, 3 million. Wow,
Greatest
that
hit,
is a lot. That is a
platinum
lot.
hit.
I think Grand Theft Auto 5 only had 160 million copies.
Y'all are stupid. This doesn't prove a point, though. Numbers don't.
I never got
continue.
there. Kenny brought up the numbers.
I know
I'm
he did.
simply
He's
saying-
getting mad.
I was saying story rich in the Grand Theft Auto games.
Rich.
Missions that are applicable to the story, that are evolving the story as you're doing these missions. It's an adult kind of theme and take on things. You're committing crimes here. I don't understand. I think I understand how they started to create a game and realized it's a little bit like Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, I'll give it that. It's a little bit like Grand Theft Auto, but you're in a car that's about it. You're doing missions completely unrelated to the story. It's not Grand Theft Auto.
That's very
You're right.
untrue. What I'm hearing is you like Grand Theft Auto more than this game, which is fine, but it doesn't make this not Grand Theft
not
Auto.
what I said.
Here's where we can agree. If it was anything like Grand Theft Auto, as you caused a ruckus and mayhem and ran people over and were destructive, there'd be a meter that built up, and then eventually the cops chase you.
Yeah, exactly. And then
But
you would get
that's
busted by the cops.
Exactly what happens
if that
in
happens.
this game.
It's Grand Theft Auto to its core. It just is. It doesn't have guns, which is
Right.
intentional because they that wouldn't fit with the Simpsons, and that's one thing that this game does unapologetically and never compromises is on it being about the Simpsons and being in that universe and having those jokes and having those characters. You feel like you're watching a long episode of the Simpsons, which is a good spin-off title. We always want that. So sure, it doesn't have guns, it doesn't have blood, it's not about adult themes, but you can run people over. They don't get hurt. They tumble and it looks really funny. You can kick people. You can knock them over. Like, you can get out of your car and go into businesses and interact with all of these things. I don't think they accidentally made GTA. I think they were like, hey, that's a good format. Let's apply it to Simpsons.
Yeah, if anything, it's even in tone. I know it's Simpsons, but Simpsons is adult humor, light. Like, it's still irreverent, there's still, this is Grand Theft Auto for tweens instead of teens or something. Like, it's absolutely Grand Theft Auto. I don't know how you can say it's, but we probably don't need to just have this argument for the entire
We're going to. He's
episode.
not going to let up.
No, I already have. I did a while back, and then y'all have just been talking for a while. But the difference with which the degree with which we disagree really helps solidify some of my feelings and thoughts towards this game, though. So it is very helpful. So I do appreciate that. Okay. Hit and Run is a game that consists of 7 levels that are somewhat open world sandboxes, but they are, relatively confined spaces. The first, I think that this game front loads a lot of the great qualities about this game. You start off as Homer Simpson in the core part of Springfield, and immediately I was drawn in because you're getting to drive around. You've got a mission, it's really dumb stuff. It's like, Marge wants you to go to the store, and then you got to go get milk. It got to take homework to Bart before the principal gets there. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can drive around. You can talk to a few different characters. You can see so many of the environments from the actual game. Almost every main character, secondary character, tertiary character is in this game. You come across them or at least see them in the environment, and I thought that was some of the best parts that this game had to offer.
Back in 2003, that was the best part about this game, was being in Springfield and being like,
you're in.
Whoa. Like, the creators of this game accurately depicted that environment, and it's so cool because Simpsons is not 3D, and so you would think that transition's weird, but like, it was so immersive. And it's silly to say because I don't think it's immersive in 2022, but it at one point in time it definitely was. It just put you into that, and I agree. I don't know if I guess it's front loaded because I do know what the later levels consist of, and it's a bit samey, but the presentation when you first jump in, and like Kenny, your first play, you're smiling the whole time, I'm sure because of that reason.
Gosh. And not because of his car driving skills, which is Kenny. Don't disagree on things that are obvious.
Like,
let's
Kenny,
save that for the things that are
you didn't
clear,
die,
that are not obvious.
But your car died.
I drove exactly in the style that games like this call you to drive in.
Yeah, gosh. It lets you do that. So
reckless abandon.
Yeah,
yeah, but you want to kind of do intentional reckless abandon. Your driving was abysmal.
I shouldn't say reckless because there were in fact wrecks.
Many wrecks. So we said it. You start as Homer, and then you're able to play Bart. You go on later, Marge.
Play
You even
Marge.
play the baby,
Lisa. Oh,
Lisa.
yeah, you
later
play.
on.
Yeah, you do play this, baby. I think at one point.
And Apu at one point as well. And you get these different characters. They all operate the same. They run around. They can kick. They can double jump. That's nice. They can double jump. And then they can run. But other than that, you're going around. You're collecting things throughout the stage. There's coins. There's these cards. And then there's these cameras. Kenny alluded to cameras. He failed to say that they're bee
Bees.
cameras. Yeah,
They're
I almost
wasps.
said wasps. Oh, whoa.
I mean, they
those are
look
two-
like bees. They call them.
Well, those
wasps,
are
I
two
guess.
totally different things.
They're fairly
no.
similar.
They got stingers.
Gosh,
They both
I
got
think they're two totally different things.
Well,
But anyways, you got
that explains everything.
Hold on. They're wasps, I think, is what they
Oh.
call them in the game.
You're converting. What do
converting.
they call them?
I call them bees because I thought. I mean, they look like bees. I think they say wasps.
Anyways, there's these wasp-like cameras that are recording the vans that are going around. So you can go and take out the wasps. You can go and collect coins. You can go and collect these cards. You can go and change your outfits. You know, you have to purchase new outfits, or you can even purchase a few new vehicles per stage and per level. But it all boils down to, outside of that kind of free roam collection, it boils down to your missions that are really just 4 rinse and repeat missions. You're either racing in your car, you're doing a time trial in your car, you're destroying another car or something, or you're trying to escape from a car.
Yeah, there's like the
And
vehicular
some
combat
item
one.
fetching.
That's time trial. You have to do it within this amount of time.
I think what they
Okay,
were
loosely.
wanting to do,
Loosely.
I think Road Rage
Yeah.
really worked for them. I think they liked that style of game and wanted that to still be a core mechanic here, but still not have a lawsuit against them. So like they added the others. But yeah, it felt, if you've played that game, for those of you that played, it does still feel a lot like Road Rage. But that's my biggest problem I have with the game now. Seeing it, like playing it today, is like the missions are all very repetitive.
Yeah.
And to a fault. Like back then, I just did it because I played games without really. I didn't play with a critical eye back then. I was just playing because it was a Simpsons game. But I mean, it's all the same thing over and over.
And they had a chance to make them different because you have different characters. And I wish they could have done some different things. They coat it or like conceal it, mask it differently, saying, you know, because you're not
Right.
like, as Bart, I had to go and collect monkeys that were loose. But
Yeah, they're all on theme with
They're
the
all on
characters,
theme.
the types of missions you're doing, and
But it is the
even the
same.
sound effects and everything.
What
Yeah.
helps with it
Yeah.
to break it up for me were the vehicles and the differences in the vehicles, because they do have different stats, and a lot of them are references to real Simpsons episodes, so you'll recognize some of
Sure.
the like vehicles and stuff like that. So that does help a lot, like the dump truck. That one, like, really tanky feeling versus Homer's car. So, like, that broke it up a little bit, but not enough. I do think that the different playable characters could have done different things instead of just all been drivers. Outside of the vehicle could have been better, too. I wish the platforming would have been a bigger part in the game, but I don't like the way they... Well... I was going to say I don't like the way they handle, but that's not true. I think it feels pretty good. I just think the platforming was uninspired.
Well, if you go back to what I said about the creation of this game, and it is, I actually looked into this, because the outside of the vehicle stuff came later in the development, platforming and all of that wasn't
It's
wasn't
really
what
an
they
afterthought here.
It's an afterthought, and it feels like that. That is not where this
It
game
does.
shines.
It's not where it shines. It should be there. I'm glad it's in there because it is something other than driving.
Yeah.
But I mean, that too, it wasn't repetitive, but it just was nothing. I mean, double jumping from one fan blade to another and then falling if you miss it just feels kind of like a chore in itself.
The thing that's tough, since they were trying to do a big sandbox where you can go and do whatever, it became tough because they had to make the stages and the areas big enough that a car could fit through, but small enough that you could walk around and platform. And doing both at the same time in all environments, it was just impossible for them to do, at least at this time.
Yeah, and the one thing that did help was the shortcuts. In the different areas, you will, I say quickly, you will eventually, after doing enough missions, learn the route and learn the stage. And the shortcuts that they put in place definitely help. And in fact, I didn't get to the end game this week, but I do remember, I don't know if I guess it's rubber band AI. I still don't know what that means, but I throw it out there when there's cars involved. I think is insane.
I think you're right.
In the end game. Some of those time trials are impossible, and we just had to grind them out as kids until we just accidentally won. But the shortcuts do make it a little less monotonous. I liked getting used to the environments, but I don't know. What'd you guys think?
And I do think they tried to be a little thoughtful of the in the car, out of the car thing. They did things like have the phone booths where you could like call a car if your car had been wrecked or you were far away from one, so you weren't stuck running around. There were a couple sort of thoughtful things where they, didn't just tack it on, but tried to make it fit. But you're right. It was the car driving stuff is the point.
You brought up the phone booths. Another cool little tidbit is that they wanted a way that you could summon a car from wherever you were on the map, which is a cool idea. But in the animated show, cell phones had not yet been introduced, and so they had to go with a phone booth and fixed locations. I
like
love that
that
they went that way because it's lore friendly.
They took it serious, yeah.
It kind of goes all the way through with this, and when I say this, if you don't already know, it will make sense. So the developers of this game actually collaborated directly with the show's writers and the cast to develop the story and dialogue in the missions. And that's where it comes out. Like this is a passion project. It's a labor of love. You can tell. Again, what I'll always point to, honestly, I could have stayed in that first area and that could have been the game. Springfield, that main area with Homer at the beginning, it's big enough to explore. It's Simpsons to the core, and I think I just rhymed there. But that was what I just loved the most and loved that environment. And it's just one of the examples of it's a group of people coming together that know and love this IP and wanted to make that show through a video game.
If you're going to make an adaptation like this, you need to do that or it's going to show. Look at some of the past Simpsons games before this. No, just...
Or most games that are just created from any kind of other media.
Exactly.
You say that, Nolan, and I'm sure there were some misses. I went into this one expecting more from it as a video game licensed from Simpsons than I did from other titles. Maybe only because of the classic arcade game that's so good and loved. It may be because I don't know some of the flops. But because of at least that one, I walked into this being like, Simpsons video games can sometimes be really good. This might be great.
I'm
played sure they're not all winners.
One of the losers on the podcast, the Bart Simpson's Juggernaut something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was good.
Mini games or something?
Yeah, it was mini games.
Well, you said that, and I just had a little bit of PTSD.
I think most of them are in that vein of quality.
Yeah. Oh, when you have 21 of them before this one alone, pilots,
you are some misses.
Bound to have some misses, and even in the future, you'll hit some misters as well.
Aged.
I mentioned it earlier that Simpsons was not a 3D cartoon. It was 2D.
It is now, though, right?
No, it's still 2D.
I feel like I know they changed art styles and art directions in recent years.
Sure, they've improved it.
I thought it might have gone from a lot of people would not say improved, but I thought maybe 2D to 3D, but maybe not.
They modernized it.
It's still 2D, but they get creative, much more creative than they used to. There are some 3D things in the show now, but there was a transition with this game to make it a 3D world because you had to interact with it. And Kenny, I think you mentioned it in your first play, saying that it's disturbing or it just felt wrong.
it was a little jarring at first. I think you get used to it,
I definitely get
but
used to it.
initially it felt kind of uncanny valley. You're so used to that opening sequence and seeing all these
Yes.
characters with these exact models, and they're like really close but 3D instead of 2D, and it was a little weird to me. You had to get used to it.
I hear you, and I agree it's jarring at first, but there is something really charming to me about the graphics and it being, again, just like inside of their house and like seeing in the kitchen and like seeing the living room. That just
They worked
I
hard to
love.
make it feel real.
Yeah.
Like the style itself and the locations you go and the way things are drawn, even though it's three-dimensional.
It works for me.
Absolutely, you know exactly where you are.
Graphics are fine, but I think the thing that it does better is it holds up to the humor. It's Simpsons humor. And I thought just some of the even physical gags were funny. If you spend enough time in the house or you come into the house at different times, you can't go into the kitchen, but you can look into the kitchen, and
Yeah.
every once in a while there'll be a character that swings around or comes by, and just the humor that's all throughout, even the vocal lines, the voice lines that are thrown out from the characters are the actual voice actors, but
Yes.
it's iconic from the show and varied enough throughout your experience that I just think the game. There was one joke today, and I don't even remember what it was as I was playing, that Bart Simpson said or did that made me actually laugh. It caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I do think some of them are time capsules. Like it's kind of like a better product in the 90s or whenever it was shared. But I think a lot of them work even today.
Like even at the beginning, I love when you're going through the tutorial and Bart's like, "Okay, Dad. I mean, Homer, and then like, he keeps forgetting to call you
Yeah.
Homer." I love
Yeah.
that. And yes, it's spot on. Feels so Simpsons, and that's the best. That's the best part that they know. The music is.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Is
also.
it Simpsons music?
Yeah, it's straight
Okay.
from the
Yeah.
show. I
Just
mean,
through and through.
again, all of that just being like a nod to this being a passion project, and then wanting to take the show, put it in game form, and then allow you to play it. So the music, I mean, I love the theme song. It hits you right off the bat. If you didn't have that, like, we'd have a problem, I think. But it all sounded great, and yeah, like you said, the voice acting. Like, you don't need to get an imitation Homer. You got to have Homer, the actor, and he's got to deliver all those lines.
We played other games that were created from other, sources of media, and they were not even able to like secure the theme song. So it's good that they're able here to have
Yeah.
the music, the voice actors, like all of the things. You're not missing any Simpsons thing here. That is something that you
No.
can say here, that like they're not missing the Simpsons vibe in any way. They hit it.
Yeah. Now, you do get some of those voice lines a lot. As
Yeah.
you're driving, there's certain things that drop on repeat that I wish there was a little bit more variety on. But as you're doing all of that, the squeals and the honks and the things people are yelling at you absolutely feel authentic to the show, and it not just the music, but sort of sound as a whole really does fit what they're going for, though it leans sometimes a little repetitious.
I was curious about how it would feel. I mean, the show's still on, like we said, but going back to like 03, for me, I was at home with this, but like for y'all y'all didn't play it and aren't like Simpsons fans per se. I didn't know if it would feel like a time capsule, because those jokes for me didn't feel like Gex, where we thought Gex jokes were like way too on the nose for 1997 or whatever. Here, it's just general like goofiness and crassness that they usually have. I feel like it still
Yes.
works.
But it's real 2003 goofiness and crassness. The fact that I don't know, the fact that it was Simpsons references and all kind of in
Mhm.
the world stuff and all sort of like known character kinds of stuff. Bart's gonna say some of the ridiculous things that they have him say because he's Bart. It can still be ridiculous, but like it works. And so I agree, it's not as bad as some of the other games played. But I also think if they went back and remade this game today, they would do some things differently in what the actual voice lines were, in already said repetitious, in how often those jokes come up, in sort of the brow meter of like the types of jokes that they're going for.
Highbrow?
That just
No.
I don't
Highbrow?
It is not highbrow.
What's highbrow mean?
Highbrow
Like-
humor.
Dustin, what does highbrow mean?
Well, it's going to be the opposite of lowbrow.
Oh.
So
okay.
lowbrow
I-
humor can be understood with little to no effort, and highbrow humor is like, I would say it's characterized by somewhat vague and advanced knowledge.
It's a mix.
It's
a
pretty
mix.
I mean,
lowbrow.
it's pretty low.
The show is a mix. It has more pop culture references. It's more lowbrow.
But that's time capsule stuff.
That
Pop
is time
culture
capsule,
but
culture
they-
of the time.
But they
I just
yeah.
it wasn't as bad as some games we played.
Right.
That,
No, yeah,
that
I agree.
really, really don't work at all. But I still found myself going, this feels a little dated.
There are a tons of Simpsons games to play. We mentioned some of them here. Road Rage. Did you play Road Rage growing up, Nolan?
Yes.
Do you recall if you had a preference for Road Rage or Hit and Run?
Yes.
And what was your preference?
Hit and run.
Okay.
For sure.
I think a lot of people would say the opposite.
Really?
That Road Rage, yes, is theirs.
I don't know.
Kenny referenced it earlier. I loved the arcade. That is
So
my
good.
only Simpsons experience. And again, I think I mentioned it in an early episode, maybe on my remember when we did those personal episodes talking about our
I think you
gaming
did say
experience
it on
growing-
there. Yeah.
I think I talked about me and my dad in an arcade playing through the Simpsons arcade game, the entire game. So we just spent quarter after quarter after quarter. It was actually tokens. And it's funny because, like Nolan, I was also, I don't know if I was not allowed to watch it or we just didn't watch it because of Bart not being respectful to his
Yeah.
parents.
It was
really
something
something
dumb like that. It was. Oh, man.
But we played that game all the way through, and it was great. It is like a beat 'em up. It's like,
Yeah.
which is weird because we're Simpsons characters, but it worked for me during that time.
Yeah.
So a lot of different Simpsons games to play. There was never a sequel to Hit and Run. If you want to play Hit and Run on the GameCube, that's how I played it this week.
Same.
You're going to be paying $55 used, $120 new, and unfortunately, it hasn't ever been re-released or remastered or added in any kind of
Dude,
thing to be played again.
Should. That would be a good remaster. A really good one.
I think
It
there's
absolutely should.
but I think there's too many parties involved, different parties that wouldn't come together and do it again.
You don't think?
From my research, it seems like that's a hard no.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Nolan, our resident Simpsons fanboy, you go first.
That's not accurate.
I'll go second. Kenny will go tertiary.
I'll tertiarily go first. It is a really good game. I think that playing it in 2022 revealed a lot of the actual game design errors that's not the right word. Game design choices that they made that were flawed in terms of like how it's aged. The big one for me being the repetition. Dustin mentioned that GTA did a good job with their missions being like story driven and like not too samey, even though some of them you do the same thing. I think they could have maybe done it here a little better, but it's not enough for me to not recommend this game, not even close, especially if you're a Simpsons fan. If you love Simpsons or if you grew up with Simpsons, you should totally play this game. Don't even go in being like, oh, it's a GTA. Just play it and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's saturated. It's absolutely saturated in Simpsons humor, tone, characters, everything. And I think you'll actually be super impressed at like what you recognize in Springdale. So play the game.
The best part of this game is the Simpsons world that was created. It looks, feels, sounds like Simpsons. I said it earlier. If I could have just driven around Springfield, that initial area,
Springfield. I said Springdale.
for the whole time, it was somewhat magical, honestly, to start it. Even not being a Simpsons person, I cannot imagine what it would have done for Nolan in 2003 playing this, being a Simpsons fan. You're like, I get to explore the world myself. That would have done so much for me. I think that's the best part of the game. The worst parts of the game is the gameplay. is the other stuff. I think that unfortunately this game just lacks on the game front. The world, beautiful. I know I've already said that. The voice, the humor, but the gameplay was fundamentally flawed just because it wasn't fun. There was no impetus that kept me wanting to play. Yeah, maybe finding new vehicles, but even those weren't inspiring. After I got Bart's, what was it, his honor roller rocket ship, I didn't want anything else. That's the best. That's the best car in the game, and because the gameplay was so repetitive, and because each of the character swapping didn't change gameplay at all, and because the story seemed to be going so slow to get us to where we were going, and I was doing the most stupid missions just to get any kind of story, I felt like it just wasn't worth it anymore. So I agree with Nolan. If you're a Simpsons fan, definitely check this out if you haven't. But I think that just for the general populace, including myself, it's just not fun enough of a game. However, I think that Road Rage would do a lot of what this does, and maybe even better from what I'm hearing. But I do not give The Simpsons Hit and Run my vote for New Game Plus status for those reasons. Tertiary?
Third-tiary. I had a hard time coming to a good conclusion here. There are reasons this game is wildly popular, or at least was wildly popular in 2003. And there's elements to this game that are really genuinely well done, even though the genre isn't one that I normally get into. But I didn't want me not loving the genre to keep me from being objective. So I hope I'm still being objective. For me, it just didn't age super well. I know the jokes hold up better than some, but they still felt a little bit dated and were a little repetitious. Like, there's just not a lot of variety there. I know every game, especially in 2003, isn't Hades, but you can do voice dialogue without feeling like it's one line that you're getting pulled out again and again and again. They could have broken it up more, you know. The openness of the world was impressive in 2003, but like, we live in a post Skyrim world now. It didn't feel big and open. It just felt like a little bit of a playground to kind of run around in. The maturity level, that's sort of the selling point of the jokes and the whole Simpsons thing, just doesn't work for me 20 years later. I love that they take you through this large sort of overarching story and that you're immersed in Simpsons, and it's really well done. But I think it was really well done in 2003, and I don't think it holds up today. A bit too repetitive, a bit too then feeling, and so no New Game Plus for me. I think a re-release of this game would be well worth playing. I get why it's popular and that fans love it, and I'm okay with that. And it certainly is a GTA-style game.
We talked way too much.
But
that's crazy that we wouldn't give this game New Game Plus.
It was a great game. I'm not disagreeing with you.
It is a great game.
It was a great game.
Yeah, and it still is. Whoa.
The
Y'all
Simpsons
are so stupid.
Hit and Run is not New Game Plus certified. And that does break our streak. We had 2, 4,
that breaks
6,
our streak.
8 games strong, and the Simpsons Hit and Run, yes, is the one that breaks our streak. We had 532 votes on YouTube. 73% said yes, it's worth playing today.
Wow, vast majority.
7% said no.
Dustin, we're in the minority here.
That's pretty low.
And I know we're going to get hate for it.
and 20% have never played it before.
That's a low number.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
Right.
most of the games we play, 73%, 80% having opinions about it is huge. This game was popular.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not as popular
I
as GTA
said.
5. 160
It's
million.
not trying to.
I I feel like anything I say at this point will frustrate
Yeah.
you. I think you're already
Nolan's
there.
just salty.
Let's hear from our
And
community.
it's fair.
Let's hear
Yeah,
from our
let.
community.
Sure, I'm
because
sure that they have great opinions about this game.
I do not think that Kenny and I are alone, because I think that we have some truth here if you take off your jaded glasses. Garlisle said, once upon a time, this game was amazing.
There it is.
Today, some parts of it still stay excellent, namely its vivid version of the source material, integrating locations and almost excessive levels of small details and references from the series. But if I have to
Yep.
stand back and be objective, it's kind of just okay. Mostly as a consequence of straddling between constructed racing and free roam and not really committing to either. It's not as inspiring as it once was, though I can understand that lingering love many have for it.
I mean, I think Garlisle and I are the same person this week. He's just not getting judged by Nolan.
Nolan's
for it.
done. Kinkery Lad said, everything in The Simpsons Hit and Run feels like it's trying to distract me from the game's problems. The hilarious writing and great music help keep me distracted from the rather repetitive gameplay, and the smorgasbord of Easter eggs and references from the show sprinkled throughout the game's 3 areas help to distract me from the rather simplistic layout of the map. However, at least for me, these distractions work. While the core gameplay may be lacking, everything else about this game is pure fun and worthy of a revisit.
Yeah, I agree.
But see, I think we agree more than it seems like in this awkward moment.
Yeah,
and
we're on opposite sides of the coin, but they're pretty close opposites.
Yeah, and I think we both fall on just different sides of the line or coin.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the gameplay's bad. That's where we differ. You think the gameplay?
You think it's repetitive though?
I think the missions are repetitive, but that doesn't mean I think the actual core gameplay is bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't say it's not fun. I really disagree with that. I think it's totally fun.
Okay, really? See, I just felt the repetition by the time I was doing what felt like the same thing the 10th time, I was just over. But we already talked, and I'm not here said. Playing this game for the first time this week, I can understand why someone might enjoy this at a young age. But unfortunately, I don't think it holds up beyond that. It feels like a game torn between 2 different gameplay paradigms, but without much depth to hold up either. This is ostensibly an open world game in the vein of GTA 3, but the world is small and not particularly interesting, with very little available to do on foot besides kick static objects and collect coins. There's certainly no options to create the kind of chaotic mayhem that makes the open world of GTA 3 so fun and compelling. At the end of the day, it's really a driving game. It's an extremely mediocre driving experience with the cramped, walkable streets of Springfield making for a town that quite frankly isn't that fun to drive around, unless you love the bits of Simpson humor, and I doubt most will feel compelled to continue this game past the first hour.
I did have a ton of fun driving, so we differ there, but I did find it samey.
And I will say, this is funny because like we land where I'm not here lands, but I don't think the world is too small. Of course, it's smaller than GTA 3 or something like that, but that's why one of the reasons why I distinguish the two. I think it's a perfectly sized for what it was going for, and even 3 different environments that you get to explore and travel around. I think it's plenty big.
I mean, name a transition from other media to game that is this immersive and big. It's not small. It's quite big. It's a little simplistic in the layout. It's kind of linear if you like just drive in the circle, but that's why the shortcuts are there.
And then finally, Joey said, this game is a childhood favorite. As a fan of The Simpsons, this game brings up a ton of nostalgia. I love how each character you play has their catchphrases that absolutely nail who their character is. Sometimes, with games based off a movie or a show, they don't always hit who the character is in game. Thankfully, that is not an issue for this game. Although the game can be repetitive at times within the missions, I love that the difficulty ramps up and brings a beloved challenge. Also, like any GTA-like games, you can enjoy the environment outside of just doing missions. For those who are fans of Simpsons Road Rage, I would say Hit and Run feels like the complete version of what Road Rage should have been.
Yes.
All this to say, I would play this game again and recommend it to others as well. Wanted to end strong for you, Nolan.
I don't see. You said you saw people saying they enjoyed Road Rage more. I mean, this is like a better Road Rage. I don't get that. Like, this just has more to do. It's more thought out. It's funnier. Road Rage is fine.
Well, it's just a different kind of game. If you're going for Crazy Taxi, I'm assuming in Road Rage you're stuck in the car. You're not leaving. You're just taking people to different locations.
Yes, exactly.
But I would imagine there's the same Simpsons
It
humor.
works. The Simpsons humor is there. It's just this is better.
Well, there was other people that commented as well. You can check out the rest of what people had to say in our commentary channel on Discord. Thank you for submitting your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each and every week to ngppodcast@gmail.com or stop by our Discord commentary channel there. We'd love to try to include your thoughts as a part of our episode next week. But for now, we're going to set aside the Simpsons Hit and Run, and we're going to randomly select the next Retro Game of the Week. And we will play this and talk about it next week as long as we are still friends by then. From our great Retro Master list, we are randomizing now. Nolan, I've got something to cheer you up.
Probably not.
Well, no, it will, because this game also came out in 2003.
What? That's
Like
3 in
Hit
a
and
row?
It also came out on the GameCube.
Simpsons Hit and Run?
Play it again.
It's a remake.
First remake on the show?
It's a remake and the second entry in the series.
I don't know. I don't like where this is going.
It is a party game where you can play single player or multiplayer. In fact, there's 8 special multiplayer modes where up to 4 players can play in these micro games. This is a game that was developed by Intelligent Systems, published by Nintendo, in this series Wario. The game that we are playing for the next 7 days is called WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games.
I thought that was on Game Boy Advance.
Nolan, aren't you a big Wario
I'm a
boy?
big WarioWare Inc. fan
He's just
for
confused.
the GBA. I don't know
So
this
you're
game.
talking mega micro games,
Oh,
and this is the remake of that
on
for the
GameCube.
GameCube.
Weird remake.
Interesting.
Weird. Port.
That's a short
Probably
time around
just a port.
to do a remake too. Yeah.
Well, it calls it a remake.
There's graphical updates, I'm sure.
Okay,
'Cause
but I'm a bit sad because I've known
am
you
too.
to talk about WarioWare games before. And you
Yeah.
wanted them on the show. And this is our first one. I was excited to reveal it. And
I'm
then
sure
you're
it's
like,
good.
I don't even know what it is.
I'm sure it's good. If it's a remake of the game I'm talking about and they didn't change too much, then it's gonna be excellent. I'm excited. I'm excited.
No,
I
you're
don't know
not.
if we-
I'm mad at you.
Yeah, you don't sound excited. I don't know that we've ever played a proper party game style. I guess we've had some games that have some elements of that, but there's certain games that are
Mario
like
Kart.
made to kind of be that vibe. And I don't know if
Right.
we've ever played one of those sort of
It's
proper on the
multiplayer?
show.
The one I'm talking
Yeah.
about is not.
Interesting.
This
So that's
one
why
is
I was
multiplayer. Do you
Okay.
think there will be someone in our community this week that can maybe help us get it to where we're playing some together?
Carlisle probably, because
Clint
Carlisle
also likes to dive into this
and
stuff.
Clint does that, but Carlisle's a huge fan of WarioWare, the Inc. for whatever the subtitle is. I don't even know. I thought it was called WarioWare Inc. for the GBA, and so he'll probably know what to do here.
Maybe before the week's over, they'll re-release it with multiplayer
Yeah,
for
for
$50.
Right.
Yeah. Or put it up on Steam and GOG for on sale for $3. All right. So find a copy of WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games, $! That's how it's stylized. And play it along with us this week.
Join us in Discord, discord.gg/newgameplus.
If you do, you'll be joining the likes of those that support the show by hitting up patreon.com. including our huge list of producers, which include the following people: Marlene, Antonin, Astral Soul, Ben, Brunt, Carrie, Captain Protein, Dan, Francesca, Gimbin, Joey, Jordan, J. Robert, Justin, Nick Nat, Corey, Maxima, Mr. Lattes, Nawal, Sajan, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna Thomas, Unbelievable, William, and Zion. Huge, three huges. Shout out to our director level supporters, Bro Jim, Garlisle, and Clint. And a big old thank you goes to Nicholas as well, who decided to up his patronage this week.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much for
Thanks, Nick.
doing it up.
We should actually call him Nicholas. Whatever name they provide, we should go with, because some people might not like
I
to go
think
by
he
nerd.
likes Nick.
You can follow us on all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. This episode, the video episode, was edited by our friend Dylan, and our audio episode was edited and produced by our good friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play WarioWare Inc. Mega Party games. Until then, I'm still the Simpsons bully. I don't know his name, but he bullies Bart.
I'm still laughing that Nolan's so salty.
I'm Batman.
Still?
Always.
No, before he was Bruce.
I'm Vengeance,
Who?
and this has been New Game Plus.